Welcome to the Construction Disruption Podcast, where we uncover the future of design, building, and remodeling.
I'm Seth Heckerman of Isaiah Industries, manufacturer of specialty metal roofing and other building materials. And today my co-host is Ethan Young. Ethan, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, Seth. How about you?
Doing well. Looking forward to this conversation we get to have on this episode. It's a topic that is front and center in our industry and in my experience over the time in the construction industry, in particular home improvement end of things especially, and that is lead generation. Because pretty much everyone needs more leads and wants them to cost less. That's what we're looking for constantly in our business, and then obviously the business of our customers, specialty contractors across the country. It is always a challenge, always an opportunity to be looking for new and better ways to generate leads. And another component of that is it's only seems to become even a greater challenge year after year. Marketing costs continue to go up, lead costs continue to rise, and all while consumers are given more and more opportunities to avoid the advertising we're trying to show them, while hearing the doom and gloom of impending recessions too. So it's been especially noisy on the where can I get more leads front here lately, it seems. And I'm excited that we're talking about that today, and excited about the perspective that our guest will be able to bring, because I do think she's someone that can be of great help to us and our audience. And that guest is Brittany Murphy of One Thing Marketing, an expert in web design, SEO, content creation, digital marketing, and much more. She is known for helping businesses rise to the top in terms of lead gen in their local markets. So without further ado, let's see what she has to share. Brittany, welcome to Construction Disruption. Thanks so much for being here.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Would love to just dive in and hear your story and journey to being the expert you are and serving the companies you do. And looking back, on your LinkedIn profile, your degree in merchandising wouldn't have necessarily been the natural starting point. So would love to hear what sparked your interest in this niche and what that journey's been.
Yeah, and let me let all the viewers and listeners know that the degree is actually merchandising, apparel, and textiles. So completely the opposite than anything trades. No, I'm remodeling. Luckily, I had amazing supportive parents that I thought I was going to be a fashion designer for a very long time, participated in many fashion shows, and went to school for it, went to New York City, realized that I love marketing. I hate New York City. I went during the cold during schools and got to see a lot of amazing different brand launch points for huge clothing retailers, and then kind of just figured out a different way to get into marketing. And so luckily I found One Thing Marketing when it was in kind of its infancy. So I have been there for 9 years. And my background into kind of why we're into trades is my dad's actually a retired pipe fitter. So I know what it's like to have a dad in the trades, have, your mom yelling that if he doesn't wash his hands when he comes home, the entire house is covered in grease and everything else you wouldn't like. But the real more important kind of why we love and why I'm especially passionate about focusing on this is when you grow up in the trades, you really understand if your parents getting a lot of jobs, if they are out there and busy, then you're eating well, you're doing great. But if their business is not thriving and they as a tech, as a result, is not getting jobs and therefore not getting paid because there's no work, then it's not as fun for the family to go through that adventure. And so basically, we have always helped local businesses and mainly family-based businesses. And kind of with my background and really realizing that trades have been left out of the marketing sphere, like people do not really kind of cater to them as much as they are now. So we kind of at that point, years ago was like, why don't we really focus and invest in the people who we know will make a huge difference for them? And we can go against these national guys that are spending millions of dollars on marketing, but they're not giving the best, client experience. They're not able to keep everybody, but my local businesses do care. They're passionate. They want to do a good job. So let's make these guys rise to the top was kind of the initiative we came from. And Dan is the owner and founder of One Thing Marketing. He started it a couple years before I joined. And it actually, the business became so because he had a separate business previous. He hired a marketer to build a website and do marketing for him. And unfortunately, he was really taken advantage of. Someone completely overpromised and underdelivered. And it's what you see a lot in our industry. Unfortunately, he was taken advantage, of that situation. So kind of found a love and a passion for marketing as he learned to do it for himself. So it's really a beautiful kind of sandwich of all of our passions and kind of where we come back from that really makes one thing one thing.
Well, fantastic. That's interesting. I hadn't thought about that yet, but yeah, 9 years ago when you started, 11 years when One Thing Marketing started, there was a lot fewer marketing firms out there catering to home, construction, trades, home improvements. That's definitely changed a little bit.
It has, and especially, so I'm based in Louisville, Kentucky. We have clients all across, and actually I was laughing because when I was looking up a little bit more background, your classic metal roofing systems of Kentuckiana, it's in my backyard. I'm right off Waterson Trail, so it's really nice to see people are right in my neck of the woods too. But yes, I mean, we really kind of want to focus on that side of it. When we started really marketing SEO here locally, almost nobody knew what it was 9 years ago. I had the hardest job as sales, trying to convince someone, hey, I can make you show up on Google. And they're like, what's that exactly? What do you mean? So yes, it is completely changed. That's kind of why, as you mentioned previously, pricing has changed around that as well. And I know we're going to dive into a lot of those topics, but yes, in one decade, our marketing agency and all marketing agencies have completely 360'd with what's available out there. And also the understanding now from clients on what marketing can mean for them, and especially what the heck is digital marketing nowadays too.
Sure. Yeah. It's just all of it. Methods, companies, everything. It's just all changing so dramatically. And pace of change is only probably makes it more of a challenge. And obviously, we opened with me just lamenting this constant challenge of leads and wanting more, wanting them to cost less. Would you agree with that? Is that what you hear from a lot of your clients? And then how do you come alongside and help?
Yeah. I mean, when I started with this position 9 years ago, people were gawking at the price of anything over $500 a month when it came to marketing. And $500 nowadays is, you would probably consider it chump change. If a roofing company was like, yeah, I'm only paying $500 a month, or a home remodeler is only paying $500 a month, they either have been well established and have a huge referral and client base of repeat business. But most of people around here are spending more, and the reason because of it, more people are in the game and everybody wants to make a buck nowadays. So Google, in the biggest, easiest analogy, is like eBay. So when you look at Google ads, the cost per click is actually based off how many other people are bidding on those keywords as well. So if you and 18 other people in your area are trying to bid for kitchen remodel, then yeah, just like eBay, that drives the price up. So I think more people are aware of it. That kind of comes around it. So how I like to step beside them in their journey is figure out, what do we need to tackle and what order do we need to tackle it in? Because not everyone I work with is going to have, the millions of dollar budget that these huge other firms have. I'm working with guys that are spending a lot less than that. So what do we need to do to get the low hanging fruit and to really compete with who your true competitors are and who you kind of see out there? So it's a very fun journey. It's very customized for each person because every city and borough in the US is completely different. The competition level could be different. So it's very fun to kind of learn with that person. What's their competition look like? What's their goal service range look like? And kind of help them piece together a puzzle that's going to help them get there, whether it's a long-term plan or a short-term plan. But ideally, I like to see both sides. That's what a true strategy is. What can we get now? And then what are we aiming for in the long run to make the business grow?
And, that's interesting when we're working with dealers across the country, or in our own one retail operation we have there in Louisville that you saw online. Digital is one of the few opportunities we have where you can kind of flip the switch a little bit and start generating something immediately, but also need to have that long-term strategy of what you're shooting for. You touched on budget there a little bit. You mentioned Google, and I think most people have some experience with AdWords and hopefully are using it as part of their plan. But you also talked about some other methods in the digital space that folks may not be as familiar with. So would love to hear, when you're starting to work with that client, how do you start that conversation around budget? What does a effective budget need to be for their scope of business, what their goals are? And then what are some of those other options other than just creating a ads account in Google and making a couple $1,000 budget and start praying. So
yeah, and that's what every marketer never wants to hear is let's just shoot and pray and hope that this works. That's kind of not our goal with it. So when it comes down to budget, usually what we have heard over the decades and decades of marketing is that most advertisers tell you to spend between that 5 to 10% in marketing. It's kind of the average range we hear. What I've noticed now, especially to relation to the previous question, you're going to have to spend closer to the higher portion of that budget if you're in a bigger metropolitan area. So if you are that $500,000 to $1 million size, like that's kind of what I consider a bigger area into that metropolitan, where you're probably going to have enough competition that Google already sees people bidding in this area. There's already a higher cost per click associated with you.
Mm-hmm.
There's already 18 remodelers in this area that you're having to go against. And although 1 million homes, you can easily spread the workload of 18 contractors around all the homes in there. So I always kind of say, don't have the absentee mindset, like always growth mindset. There's always jobs out there and kind of going with it. So when it comes down to budget, it's going to have to base on what does your area look like and what is everybody else doing in your area. I'd like to look at competition as a way of what are they doing and how could we do it better than them? And there is always room for improvement. Almost every marketing plan I see, there's very little times where I look at a neighborhood in a city and I'm just saying, wow, like there's no chance in hell, guys. Like this is never going to be our market. There's always some areas that we see of, hey, like they're not utilizing this, or we can see they're really focusing on these areas. Why don't we push this instead? So I really like to make sure that, when I'm talking options and budget, it's going to depend on how quickly you need leads. And that's really the start of the conversation, guys. So it's kind of the first question I ask anybody is, how are you doing now? How are you managing now? And how quickly do we need to see ourselves get to that next step? Because their answer is all across the board. I have some guys coming in and say, I used to be booked out months. I'm barely booked out 2 days. Please help me. What do I need to do? And when it comes to that side of it, we need to look at a short-term strategy. You're dying right now. So what can we do to kind of help thrive and rejuvenate the business? And unfortunately, that's going to be most times and none straight ads. I mean, straight direct marketing of that sort. So you're going to be looking at your Google ads, Google LSA. I'm really starting to fall in love with. It has been hit and miss with some of my clients. And maybe that's something we dive into a little bit. Not that, mainly I focus on ads, but look into your local service ads, look into Google regular ads. Those are easy ways to kind of get ads up and running, but they can be expensive. I do have other guys that are good with social media. And that's something where when it comes to remodeling, it's such a visual business. And so when I have contractors who take good pictures, good before and afters, have good case studies, they actually can kill it on social media and pushing themselves through Facebook ads and Instagram ads because they have good things to see. And plus their website looks good. So if someone clicks on it and they check them out other places, they see a good, consistent image kind of across the board. So if it comes to we need leads now, I'm going to be looking at more of those direct methods. And especially if you had a big past client base, well, let's look into email marketing. Like you already have the contact information of all these guys. What are you doing? Those are some quick short-term wins we kind of look at. But ideally, how I like to consider marketing, and I'm a specialist in search engine optimization, SEO for short. And so when we talk about that, I'm really talking about the health of your, not just body, but your marketing, your website, your business. So we have to look at long-term strategies, which would be like diet and exercise. Diet and exercise is unfortunately the thing that we all hate. It's not fun, but it's what gives us longevity and makes us feel good doing things. If you need leads right now, then we have to look at diet pills. But we need to understand that long-term, if we can fix that bump, we're going to hit it again if we don't fix the underlying cause. And that's where a lot of times I look at what the options need to be is we can have some short-term wins, but let's look at a long-term strategy. Your website's not converting. You have absolutely no good images or no, consistent messaging. There's no information. There's no resources. There's no FAQ. So if I'm looking at 3 a.m. because I absolutely hate my kitchen, my husband won't fix it for me, and I'm scrolling through your website, this is a salesperson. So we need to look at all those aspects of it to kind of make sure that they go together. So I know that's kind of a very broad answer, but it really is. It's custom to where you are. So I guess anyone that's listening, that's kind of the questions you ask yourself. Are you dying right now, or are you looking for a strategy to where you can build upon this, because we might need to worry about getting employees in place before we can handle that workload as well. So those are all kind of things you need to filter through when you're looking. What strategy should I put in place, and how much short-term versus long-term should I put into the strategy initially?
I wanted to highlight a point you brought up too about social media and taking good pictures. We work with a lot of contractors, and I think that's something that is still kind of underrated a lot. You know, you don't have to be an expert in social media, but just getting a little bit more competency with a camera or a drone or whatever it may be for, you know, your specific field makes such a big difference. Just easily, you can put it on social media, put it on your website, like you said. It's something that a lot of contractors don't think about, or maybe they're kind of intimidated by, or they don't think they need it. But it's we've seen it be a really big help for a lot of them. So
Yeah, like I liked how you said that. That website is the salesperson at 3 a.m. So, what are we putting there to start pulling out that emotion, the pleasure of a beautiful project, or pain of doing nothing, and having that mindset? That's great.
And one thing I like to tell everybody, because no one wants to spend money on a website, it's not the fun part. Let's just be honest. I mean, like showing up, social media, I mean, all these other things are kind of more fun. So the way I like to, again, if you're going to put back into budget in your head of what you should spend, you backed me up on this, Seth. If your website could be that salesperson that works for you when your sales guys are off, then what are you willing to pay that salesperson that's willing to work the midnight shift? You know, think about it that way as well. And it's not someone you have to pay benefits to. They don't need a 401k, but it is your website's doing a lot of heavy lifting if you make it. And that's the whole point, is making your marketing do the heavy lifting for you and your sales team and everybody else involved with it. So it's a more effective machine for you, and you can actually take a vacation versus just worrying like, how's it working? Are the things going off when they should? You just know it's effective and it is going in the right direction.
Awesome. Well, and I want to hear more about what your sort of top best practices are for website, both on the just organic performance as well as that conversion sort of salesperson kind of fulfillment. But before I forget, Google LSA, local service ads, I think you called them. So is that like the Google approved program, or what?
So yes, that's basically the Google Guaranteed program is what that is. And the reason I talk about it more so, just my opinion on this, Google Guaranteed is a great thing to kind of have that badge next to you. Unfortunately, especially in the construction industry, there's a lot of quote unquote fly-by-night companies that people feel as if they have dealt with and been jaded, and unfortunately took their deposit, did not come back to do any of the work. So in an industry such as that, it's not a bad thing to have that check mark beside you. And it just kind of shows you've went through the extra steps through Google to say you're insured, you're verified, and you've gone through background checks. The reason I am liking it is because it actually shows up in the Google Maps section, which we're seeing from most of our contractors. If they can show up in that map section, they will get minimally 60 to 70% of their leads from showing up in the map section. And that's one of the huge things I would talk about, basically local SEO, because the first time someone goes to Google, if they can find you and go through your sales process, you're more likely to close them. So we really kind of like to focus on that side of it. But if you can get that ad there while you're waiting to organically rank there, that's kind of the win-win. And the thing we do like with LSA right now is you do need to have a workforce in place who is going to be answering the phone consistently every single time. Because the benefit of LSA is you can dispute leads with Google and get reimbursed for anyone who's outside of your service area, asking for services you don't offer, is spam, any of the things that you couldn't always do with a cost per click. You don't know who's clicking your ad every time on Google. And, Google will filter out if the IP address keeps coming in, but you might have already lost $100 by that point. Versus with LSA, you might lose, 25, 50, $75, whatever that lead cost, but you're not losing it. You are making sure you're doing a good job taking your notes, and they do have AI features that listen to these phone calls, but you are reaching out in your dashboard and saying, nope, wrong client because of this reason, and you're getting reimbursed money. So that's kind of one thing to look at, is why I like it, but that's kind of where as well, no matter what marketing you're doing, you need to answer the phone and answer it well, and kind of go through that process with it. Even if you're not getting charged every time someone that calls that phone, this is always a good practice to have in place for any of your marketing when it comes in for that side of it. But back to your original question, you said, what is the best practices for SEO?
Yeah, I would love to hear that, but now I have follow-up questions based on what you just said. But so you mentioned the map pack, and it's always seem like that's the magical spot to be in that top 3 for free. And then if you're on there organically and you have an ad, then all of a sudden you've got some pretty good real estate. But I've understood, and maybe this is incorrect or correct, but reviews and your Google My Business profile can also contribute to likelihood of ending up there. Is that true?
Absolutely. So there are, and if you don't mind, I'd like to dive into it, just like dissect this a little bit, because Seth knows what the map pack is, so I'm already excited that you're speaking my love language of SEO. But there's a few factors, and reviews are very important, but there's a few that come before it. So when it comes to ranking in the map pack, which, as we said, if over half of your leads could come from there, why the heck would you not spend some time to make sure you're optimizing correctly for this? First and foremost is proximity. And so what I mean by that is the physical address you have listed on your Google business profile needs to be close to the clients you want to work with. What we're seeing right now in kind of bigger metropolitan areas is after you go past like a 15-mile radius, it gets very, very, very hard to rank outside of that. And what we're seeing is because there's other people popping up, and Google's still placing proximity as the number one factor, thinking you want the person closest to you. So they're still working on this. I had been at a seminar years ago, and I was kind of really upset about the fact that, they're ranking proximity as the number one factor. I get it. But I actually did this conference in Las Vegas. And so this was very on point then. I said, all right, guys, let's just say y'all go out tonight. You get arrested. Oops. Now, you have 5 seconds to go to Google and try to find a lawyer. Are you looking for the lawyer physically closest to you or the best lawyer?
Yep.
So it depends how long you want to stay in Vegas and stay in jail, but you're probably going to vote for the best attorney to get you out of there because you don't want to sit next to your cellmate anymore because he's just crazy and actually a murderer. So you're going to look more for those things. So what Google has done over the years since I kind of had that seminar is they've put some factors a little bit up higher. However, proximity is still number one. So that's what I told my guys is if you're looking to rank in a sub-city close to yours, still decent population, if it's over that half-hour drive away, it would be very, very, very smart of you to look into getting just a small remote office to claim another listing in that area. So therefore you can show up. You don't have to do it. It's just going to take a longer time to get there. So I'm more of, if you can do this as by the book as possible, Google does want to make sure you are legitimately doing some type of business there. PO boxes don't work anymore. Co-working spaces don't work anymore, unfortunately. So Google has cracked down on this, but in a good way. But that's kind of the hard part is it is kind of buffering you more into this box. So if you're going to go out further, you need to look at potentially getting another listing. The other factors outside of that, really close to it, is actually number 2 is how well your website ranks. So if you have the right content, you break down all of your services well, then you're going to rank higher in Google business profiles. So for example, you do kitchen, bath, whole house, and basement remodeling. Let's just say those are your 4 main services you're trying to target. If you don't have a separate service page for each of those services, then you're never going to rank for kitchen remodeling because you've shoved every other keyword with it within Google's eyes. It's not sure what you should be ranking for, what's kind of your top priority. So that is kind of one thing we have to look at is we do have to go back into actual on-page optimization of your website. So do I have enough content? Do I answer who, what, where, when, why, how of kitchen remodeling, of bathroom remodeling, and so forth to make sure I'm giving Google enough clues that my website is relevant to the keywords that potential client is typing in online. So that's huge. So you need to be close to your clients. You need to have resourceful content showing Google what you do for those clients that are looking you up. And then just a little bit down that is actually reviews. So your number of reviews and the score of your review are 2 now neck and neck type of statistics that Google is going off of. It used to be the number of reviews was really high up, but yet your score was really down low, which also didn't make sense. If you want that attorney, I don't care if they have 1,000 reviews. If they're a 2.0, I don't want that lawyer in Las Vegas. They're not going to get me out of jail. I want the person with a high score and a good number. So they've now kind of put these more neck and neck with one another, which is really on point with what your question is. Will reviews affect us? Heck yes, they will. We need to make sure we're getting them consistently, and we need to make sure we're getting good reviews. And I'd like to tell everybody, don't freak out if you get a 1-star. It's not the end of the world. I'm sure you probably have had moments that contractors, that's what the end of their life. That's the last thing they needed to hear. And please don't take a sip of bourbon or 5 sips and then go back and answer that because it's always not the best choice to respond to a bad review that way. But yes, it is pulling as a huge factor because it's the conversion factor now. As I just said, I'm looking for certain factors. Google is showing people based on those factors, and now I'm ranking them off of that. So again, I want a high score, but I do want to see that you've had enough reviews too. And what we kind of see is 25 is a good magic number to break into to start to build trust, where it's a psychological thing with most homeowners, if they can see if 25 reviews or more, it gives you more authority. So a goal is to always get to that. And obviously the goal is to be as close to a 4.9 as possible. I think 5 is very unrealistic, and I might think it's a little fake as well. So nothing wrong with being human and making sure that you just kind of keep going down that path of asking everybody. So it is a process you have to put in place to continue to do this, because it needs to be slow and steady. Do not jam pack reviews on there. Google will think they're spam and take half of them off, or if not all of the reviews you have on there. So slow, steady system, doing it correctly and properly, and Google rewards businesses that do that.
Funny you mentioned that, because we were doing a job in Lexington, and a vendor we needed to work with as part of that project I went and looked in the map pack and found the one with a decent number of reviews and, decent looking website. So we hired them, had a horrible experience. So I began questioning what those reviews were, and magically over like the 3 days since I had looked previously, he had like 9 more, all 5 reviews. He wasn't big enough to probably generate that many of. So there's definitely seems like there's some shenanigans going on like that. So glad Google's able to crack down on it.
Yes. And that's kind of where, when it comes down to that location as well, the reason they're cracking down more is there's a lot of extra people making extra Google businesses, kind of just like what I said. You're adding extra offices. So that's why, like, if you're going to go down that path as well, you need to do it as buy the book. And this is quotation air quotations as much as possible. There is no book. Google has not supplied me with anything to become an expert. I've had to do all this research and work with our team to kind of create that authority in our field. But that's what they're looking for, hands down. So this has been the baseline algorithm forever with Google. It is to do right by their visitors. So if you were supplying information, if you were doing things that seem like you were engaging with them, and that's why you want to reply to those reviews. And maybe that guy was most likely buying them to have them come in that so quick and swiftly. And that's kind of where I tell my guys, if you get that 1 star, that does not mean go out, text 20 of your friends to leave you a 5-star review. Like, that's not the way to kind of crack down on that either. And so I just got married. My last name has changed, but I keep forgetting what my new last name is. But my old last name was Murphy. Murphy's Law is a true thing. And that's kind of what I told my clients is I love to look at 1-star reviews and see what the business did. Did they respond to it well? Did they try to improve the situation? Or did they basically say, this is not real? And just, it seemed very like, okay, are you sure? Who's making a bigger deal out of this? I'm not sure where the drama is. I don't want to see any drama. That's the whole point. I'm just looking to make sure, hey, the business owner says, so sorry, Kathy, if you would call us directly at this line, the owner would love to discuss with you your situation and make sure we can improve it. That's all I need to see to say, yep, I'll call ABC Contracting. They are taking ownership of it. They're being responsible. And that's all I need to see. They have a 4.7. They have 50 reviews. Yep. And people are making micro decisions so quickly on Google. And that's why, yes, the map pack is such a successful place. I'm seeing who your business is. I'm seeing where you're located. And I'm seeing your reviews and your score of that. And then from there, if I want to press call, I can press call from my phone. So I tell everybody, just take a step out of your seat, pretend you're a homeowner looking for someone doing kitchen remodel, and pretend you would go down that journey and what you would be looking for and what you'd be seeing. And if you don't like what you see on yourself, then homeowners don't like that either. So that's who you're comparing yourself to, is everybody else out there and what they look like compared to your presence.
Good stuff. Thank you. So, Google My Business Profile, adding photos, posts and things there, does that really help or hurt any which way? Obviously doesn't hurt probably, but does it help?
It definitely does not hurt. Google for a bit was trying to use that as a way to kind of compete with social media profiles. Mm-hmm. So what they tell us is you want to be adding to it, but what's more impactful is actually customers leaving reviews and leaving picture reviews as well, because it shows more engagement with the outside environment versus you only adding to it. And that's kind of where Facebook and Instagram and all the other social medias as well, they reward engagement. So the more popular your posts get, the more people they show that out to. And that's kind of the same way with Google. Your Google post isn't going to get 1 million likes on it, but you adding new constant information to it. And when I say adding new constant, that does not mean every single week. Even when we manage Google business profiles, we were adding things monthly. And we didn't see a big difference with it. So we spent more time adding things to the website, which was driving more traffic to the site, which is increasing the on page, which was increasing the SEO ranking, which then increased the map pack. So we were going after the number 2 ranking factor versus, kind of ones down the road where post engagement with it. So yes, if anyone wants to Google, factors to rank in the local map, there'll be 200 of them. But you're the bigger piece of the pie is about a third of it's going to be spent on those first 3 factors we talked about. So that's where if you have unlimited time, do it all, but we don't have an unlimited time. So focus on the things that are going to make the biggest bang for the buck. And I would say that probably wouldn't be where I'd spend my time.
No, it makes sense. And obviously our conversation up to this point is just the effort to really get people to your website, and then the real work starts. So would love to now, yes, move into that next question of, what are your best practices? What do you see when you're working with clients, the most consistent, immediate things that you're recommending need changed, based upon your experience.
Yes. So I actually had a strategy session yesterday with a newer home remodeler. He just had his 1-year anniversary, had his website up. He had been posting on social, doing really good. He already has, I think he said 17 jobs booked this year, which I think is awesome for only a year in to be doing so well so quickly. So his question for me was, how do I take this to the next step? I'm not really spending much marketing dollars right now. It's working for me, but I want to take it to the next level. I want to have more subs. I want to be pulled out where I'm working on the business versus in the business. So the things that I look for immediately is, and again, I wear 2 hats when I do these audits. I'm looking at it from an SEO expert and how can I make your marketing be as effective as possible? But then I'm also looking at, I've been a homeowner for a decade now, so what are the things I would look for? I've remodeled every portion of my home after this last decade. And unfortunately, I bought a home that they did not take much care of. So I have replaced everything, whether I wanted to or not. And everyone gets excited, about replacing a furnace and their AC and their whole entire HVAC unit. Nobody really, loves doing that, but you have to at times. And so I have been in the client seat as well, looking out because I didn't have clients here locally that did all these services. So you have to look at it both those sides on this. And the things I'm looking for is if I just type in, let's just say kitchen remodeler, I'm looking at the Google search results page. I'm going to see the ads at the very top, which I usually bypass, and the stats show most people do bypass. It gets between a 2 to 5% conversion rate for the ads. So it's kind of where I said, this is a good short-term game plan, but not a long-term game plan because you spend more money than your wheels kind of get you on that aspect of it. So kind of most homeowners they might look at the ads, but they kind of scroll down and you focus more on the map pack. Again, it gives me everything I kind of want to see in a nice little quick summary. That's the beauty of Google, is giving me that quick snapshot. So most times I'll look through there and I'll kind of pick the top 2 or 3, maybe scroll down some more, find maybe max. I would think people aren't getting quotes more than 5 people. That would be ridiculous and way too much of time to have 5 people come in, estimate, measure. So let's just kind of cap it. 3 to 5 is what most homeowners are going to kind of come and reach out to. I'm looking at the best practices of your Google business profile. First and foremost, do you have reviews? So all the things we just said, what's your score and how many do you have? And when you do have these reviews, are you responding appropriately to them? And one quick tip I didn't get to give previously is when you are asking your clients for reviews, please, please, please ask them to say, could you mention the service I provided for you by chance? Could you just say I did a kitchen remodel and how you felt about the kitchen afterwards? And they might say, oh, okay, it doesn't make sense to them. But what you're doing is you're now allowing the keywords of your services to end up in these reviews so they actually can pull up and pop more. So any little things like that can help you stick out some. So I might see the kitchen remodel words bolded on the third person on the map pack. And now I'm kind of more, they're sticking out to me because it really shows that. And I immediately know that Google's saying, these people do it. Click on these people. I mean, that's the whole point of Google and how they work. So I love seeing that side of it. But after that, most homeowners are going to really check out the meat of your website. And what we're kind of looking for is, hey, do you provide the services in which I'm looking for? So that's where I mentioned before. Not everybody puts all their services on there and they're not breaking it out by page. Because the second thing I'm looking for is, okay, I do see you say you do kitchen remodel, but what's the process? What's your pricing? Who do you work with? What type of kitchens do you do? Like, do you have a designer? Is this just the cabinets? Are you going to do paint? Are you going to do flooring for me? I mean, I have so many questions for you, man. You're not giving me any answers, but those websites that do, I click on their kitchen remodel page. I see before and afters. I may even see a client video testimonial of them staying in their kitchen saying, wow, ABC Construction did an amazing job, on time, on budget. I have no complaints. You should choose them. Now I'm already sold. Like, this is the conversion stuff we're getting into as well while I'm talking about SEO best practices. So you're answering, again, the who, what, where, when, why, how of that particular service. So again, if I am scrolling in bed at 2 a.m. because I have insomnia and I hate the kitchen with my life, and your website answers all these questions, that third shift salesperson is really working overtime right now, selling me on everything you do. Holy crap, this is amazing. So I want to see that. I want to see more reviews. I want to see more word of mouth. I mean, that's kind of where we say, peer to peer, word of mouth. Like, fortunately, this is a new digital word of mouth, is what people are seeing about you online, and are you sharing those experiences on your website? So I love to look at that. People really do look at team and about pages as well. Especially in my area, I've noticed we love local, and that's kind of where it makes me even happier as a marketer to know that the local businesses here are supported by the community. Not that the government always supports them, but the community does. And so what can we do to kind of make sure and shine a light on them? So is this a father-son business? Is this a mother, and a daughter business? How long have you been doing this? Why are you doing this? What do you stand for? It all things that could potentially convince me, and I don't know who the heck you are yet, but wow, this mom, this daughter started this kitchen remodeling company because they hired a kitchen remodeler that took advantage of them, and then they did it on their own and realized how fun this was. See the symbiotic relationship with our company, how it started out with how someone else could start their construction business. I'm sure there's situations have happened. Yeah. That's going to help sell you. And that's kind of where, even in my marketing, and why I want to give our story of how One Thing Marketing came into fact, is because that helps you understand who we are and where we came from and why we're doing what we're doing. Those are all kind of things I'm looking for in the website. And not that seeing your mission, your vision is an SEO best practice, but these are conversion things. Help me get to know you. If I'm going to spend 30 grand on a kitchen, I need to trust you. And that's really what I'm looking for, is all those little factors that kind of come together to make me feel just that good initial greeting with you. And then the last thing I would kind of say to wrap up, just some standard things to look at, is if the minute they are interested in you, what does the contact process look like? Do you have a contact form? Do you only want them to call? Do they speak with an office manager? Do they just get the voicemail? Like, what does their experience look like when they kind of come to that? Because that's really where all the best practices can come into place. You could be spending a lot of time on the wrong things, because there's a lot of basics that if you don't step out and look at it from a client's perspective, you're going to miss those. So in an easy wrap-up summary, if you want to know how to do best practices for yourself, pretend you need your service, Google it, check out your website, and then check out through the people who do what you do and what makes you feel so much better about yours than theirs, and vice versa. You can't really reinvent the wheel with marketing. Almost everybody's done anything. So you just have to kind of recreate and make it better, like hone in how to make this wheel more round to work more efficiently for your business. And that's kind of just to keep it not too techie and not too in the weeds. Those are the easiest things to look for. So if you know you're missing, and your competitor is providing their client with a process, a timeline, budgets, expected estimate ranges for projects because they have project portfolio pages, then yeah, I'm going to miss that out on your website, and I might trust them more because it's more transparent. So it's easier for me to make a decision as a buyer.
Good stuff. And I love that you take that list.
Sorry, long answer.
No, yeah, it's excellent and gives us plenty to talk about and learn. I'm taking notes here, but I just appreciate that holistic approach that you take of, okay, we need the SEO performance, obviously, to get them to the site in the first place, but we need them to convert. Just visiting doesn't accomplish much. And so, that about us and the team and who we are and why we do what we do, and start building that emotional connection. I was talking with one of our customers earlier this week, and this was not a podunk website project. It was significant, but they ended up with a firm that went and looked at, okay, what are the most kind of Googled terms in your service, in the service you offer, and we're going to design the site accordingly. And it ended up with a bunch of content about doing roof repairs and storm damage, and not at all in their wheelhouse of business. And the vendor said, well, it's going to drive traffic. Well, it's not going to be traffic we want, and they're not going to convert because we don't do what they do. So you got to have the both and, right? You can't just focus on one or the other.
Yeah. And that's why I always say, when you are working with a marketing agency, please communicate with them. They should not be a rogue entity for your business. They should only be an extension of it, working with you the entire time, or else there'll be marketing services that you don't even provide. What a waste of money.
Exactly. Yeah. Obviously, you're going to be a little bit biased on One Thing Marketing, the service you guys offer, but I'm curious, you led into that. What are some key questions people should be asking when they're evaluating a vendor? What should they be looking for when working with our customers over the years? It seems like they're either ending up with vendors who are so big that their individual account is just going to be a blip on their radar, and they're not going to get that personal attention, or this is a little derogatory, but I said, or you're going to end up with the guy eating Cheetos in his parents' basement, building you a website, and neither of those are going to work out well. So what would be your advice?
Yeah, so that's a hard find. You're basically finding high quality without feeling like you're just quantity to your marketing agency. So one thing I always, Nick, this has been easier for us, yes, since we've niched down, but how much is your marketing agency willing to learn to become an expert of what you do? And that kind of just feeds on what you said is the marketing agency went rogue. They were targeting roofing because that was a high traffic keyword, but that's not what their business service was at all surrounded around. So how much are they willing to really know what you do and wanting to help push what you do? And us niching down over the past, I think it started about 4 years ago. We noticed over half of our clients were in trades, and it's trickled where we're like 95%. We have a few people who just know us, love us, and really want to use us. So like we're doing a tattoo website right now. We don't really work with tattoo shops, but they were a local client and, just really knew our reputation and wanted to work with us. But ideally, we spent more of our time over the past 4 years focusing more on the realms of HVAC, roofing, home remodeling, electric, plumbing, like the guys in the trades and the main home services. So that way, if someone from HVAC comes to me and they're like, well, I need help. And I go, okay, well, what services do you offer? I mean, how seasonal is this business? Like, do you even offer mini splits? Or is it only furnaces? Like, I mean, is your AC season always much higher than your furnace? Or is it flipped because you're more north? Like, you tell me. And they're just shocked I know the difference, or I've even heard of the term mini split. I'm like, I get it. I don't look like a girl that would know what a mini split is, but like all we've been talking about is difference between shingle and metal roofing and what type of spine structure that roof has to have. I was like, we get that. We get some of the nitty gritty details. We're not you. We don't know everything but you don't need to expect us to know every single thing, how the nails should go into the roof, but we need to understand what your process looks like so we can explain it in English to your clients. So that's what we love being, is that nice liaison of what you do, putting your expertise into something that's digestible for clients to find. And then the other huge factor that hands down is actually more of my number one is, does your marketing agency track? And when I say track, are they tracking what's real and what's measurable? And like, for instance, what we like to focus on is leads. So how many calls are coming in? Like, how many qualified, unique, new phone numbers are we getting in? And that's like one of the main sources we're looking at. So leads from your website, leads from the ads, leads from Google My Business, contact forms, all the above, kind of putting that together. And I feel that, we do look at traffic, we look at engagement. I mean, we're looking at some other factors that are telltale signs of how this funnel is going to go when it gets to the end goal of leads. But I have run into a lot of people where after their strategy session with me, I say, hey, I'm not going to take you away from your marketing agency, but if you would like me to have a second look and a second opinion, forward me a report they gave you, just so I can see how they're doing. Because if they're doing great and they've only worked with you for 3 months, then like, I'm not going to step in here. Your expectations are just crazy for SEO to kick in after 90 days, and I'll be getting reports, but the reports are only traffic into the website. That's it. We got 1,000 visitors to your website. Isn't that awesome? I'm like, how many phone calls do you think you got? One? If that? Well, then this is this is shit. This is not something you should be. I don't know what you're spending, and I'm going to pretend that it's $1 a month to get that type of reporting, but I know you're spending way more than $1. So make sure they're tracking appropriately. As I said, I can separate people's leads from what came in organically on their website, what came in from people knowing already who they are, what came in versus their Google business profile, what came in versus their ad. Like, I mean, I can tell you what time they came in, where they came previously. Like, this is the stuff that you need as a business owner to really make good future marketing decisions with. And it's kind of the fun part, is a good marketing agency will allow you to dip your toes into anything you're interested in, but give good guidance along the way. So what I tell my guys is, hey, I'm not a radio or TV expert, but if that's something you want to dive into, billboards, print, any of those things, give us the information. We'll look at it for you. And if you're adamant you want to do this, okay, I'm not going to stop you, but let's have a call tracking number for that ad. There is a special landing page people are going to go to. And there's also a very special offer that is only advertised on that TV or radio or digital print ad. That way we know we can track it. So if you spent $10,000 on this TV ad, I can see you got 2 phone calls. I can give you those 2 phone numbers, and you can say, actually, those are both 50 grand kitchens. So hell yeah, for a 10,000 to get 100K out of it, 100% we will keep putting our money in here. And I, as a marketer, can say, I'm so happy for you, because more money in your pockets is always a win for us, even if I wasn't the one that delivered the lead, as long as I can help you, guide you, and give you the answer of if this is working or if this is not working. That's the fun part of marketing. It's the not sexy part, analyzing data and call logs and, looking at all the data analytics to see what's working, what's not working. super unsexy, but it's what at the end of the day is helping a business owner grow to the next level, is because they know that 10 grand went somewhere versus, hey, that 10 grand, here's the 2 phone numbers. Yeah. Both of these were like really crap leads. Like they just wanted like new kitchen trash cans. Okay. Do you want to pursue this again for the next 90 days? And they're like, no, but thank you for tracking this for us. Yeah, my pleasure. Now they're not going to waste 10 grand again. Like, again, it's more money in their pockets that we're just trying to help with. And I think that when you look at a marketing agency, it should just be an extension of, if you had someone in your office that was doing this for you and had all the knowledge and expertise and all the areas to help you with it, would they always have your back? And that's just the ground scheme that comes to this. A person in your office would not go rogue and say you do roofing when you're only,
Right.
doing kitchen remodels. So those are the kind of the grand things to look about is, are they tracking? What are they tracking? And do they give a shit about what they're tracking for you at the end of the day to make sure that they care about your business and they're invested in it as well?
And it may not be the sexy part, but it's the common sense part, right? To spend 10 grand and not have the metrics in place to be able to know what return, if any, you got out of it. And, you mentioned tracking leads, which are so important, but you also track that 10 grand back to revenue, which we've worked with marketing vendors where they want to get excited about leads or make a recommendation. Hey, you'll get more leads if you put, hey, get a $50 gift card with filling out the form. Then you only have junk leads. So that doesn't make any difference either. So, but a big part of that evaluation process is done, and you alluded to it earlier, who's answering the phone? What does that appointment setting and vetting process look like? And obviously you've got some expertise there as well. So what are you seeing your clients who are doing that well? What's that look like for them?
Yeah, well, they are starting basically that customer experience journey from the very beginning. So I think hopefully what everyone gathered from my previous answer to your question was, before someone even finds you, the client experience starts. So the minute I see anything about you online is when I'm going to start my time clock to judge you. And judging happens so quickly nowadays. We have all the access to information to do this so quickly. So I am looking to kind of see, first and foremost, I'm looking at reviews. I'm looking at everything kind of on here. If things look good enough and I'm starting to continue that journey, have you answered all my questions from your content? Good, you have. There's an FAQ. Okay, there's either a contact form, there's a chat bot, or there's a phone number. Now, how you choose which of these 3 is going to work best for your business is up to you. Homeowners and clients will change opinions all across the board. My roofer in Texas will have a huge different opinion on how his leads come in versus my HVAC client in Utah. People might be more callers in some areas and more kind of contact form people in others and chatbots. And it could happen around the time of the day and obviously who's calling you. So no matter which of those they pick, immediately there is the judgment could be great and they're going to continue down this, or this is going to be the last needle in the haystack. This is the last straw that broke the camel's back type of situation. So I actually do have a remodeling company that we were calling to check their call tracking numbers just to make sure they were working, just testing, randomly just to make sure these are still working. So our tracking is up to date. And I got their voicemail, which was really not usual. So that was fine. Someone went up to use the restroom. Like, I don't judge, and a homeowner might say, oh, okay, like I don't want to get the voicemail. So that is something to think about. If you're going for the more the higher end and luxury, people expect to be taken care of pretty quickly. So, I'm more likely, if I'm going to spend 100 grand for my kitchen and bathroom model, I might not be leaving you a message. I want to talk to someone. I want someone here pretty soon. I might have bigger expectations. So again, know your client base and know what their expectations are around it. But their voicemail was actually cut off at the very front. So all I heard was like the last letter of their first name and then construction. Sorry, we're not here. Beep. And so I went into their call log and I was like, this hasn't been their voicemail the whole time. I would have caught this. Well, I'd never gone their voicemail before to catch it, but I actually went in, and people who call, overnight when they're obviously closed, I listened to the calls. There was unfortunately actually a voicemail from someone that said, hi, I'm looking for this construction company. Not sure if I called the right phone number. And it was the biggest oof. Like I couldn't believe it. Like here's a perfect lead that is now losing trust in you because of a voicemail, because they don't know if they landed on the right place. Like, oh my God, like this person might not want to call back. Like, they were hopefully referred, so they're going to try again. And hopefully, obviously my construction company, knowing that, hopefully listen to these podcasts and I'll come find them if they don't correct these situations, but hopefully they got the voicemail, called her back as soon as they did in the morning, so they could say, so sorry, yes, this is us. How can we help you? And approved from there. But if you got to think about it, how many people might have heard that message after 6 p.m. when, they're not going to answer the phones and went, oh, I think this is the wrong number, and hung up and then just called the next number on the Google Map Pack. It's so easy. And especially on the phone, I just push, nope, red button, go back to Safari, push the next call button. I mean, it's so simple to kind of go through that. So it starts with everything. Like, what is your office person's voicemail sound like? Are they saying your name appropriately? Is it nice and bubbly? Does it make someone feel good if they didn't answer the phone? And do they know how soon you're going to call them back? If you do answer the phone, what does that sound like? I have seen a few office managers. We have call tracking, and I tell my clients, you have access to this. Please listen for quality assurance of your office managers to make sure they're doing a good job for you. Because if I'm driving leads and I'm seeing, hey, I got you 100 calls last month. What happened? You go, well, they're all crap. And then I listen to and it's the office manager saying, oh, when do you need that fixed by? Oh, okay. You think I'm going to schedule with her? No, that's not the experience I'm looking for. That happens more than none. And that's kind of where it's not just your team that's in the field doing the actual work. It's the home office running everything for you. You have to double check. Because again, as a marketer's job, I'm driving business to you. How you intercept that business and convert that business is all on you, my man. But I will 100% yell at you if you're not doing a good job about it, because you make us look bad. And that's not what I'm here to stand for. If I'm driving business, I need you to step up as a business owner and help convert that. And if it's shit, tell us. We'll figure out a way to improve it to try to get better quality of calls. But that's not every situation. Usually there are some sticklers that kind of get in there, and those bad processes that kind of follow for years. And it's always hard to kind of keep in office, employees at times. So you're doing a lot of training, and maybe they're like, oh, we don't offer that. And they hang up and they're like, do we actually do tiling? Yeah, we do tile, floor, backsplash, everything. What do you mean you didn't know this, Nancy? And she's like, oh, sorry, it's just day 2. Call them back. Like, all those things kind of go with it. Other than that, yes, how your sales reps show up, the experience they're giving, it should basically replace the website. And what I mean by that is your sales representative is a resource for them. It makes them feel warm. It makes them feel understood, and it is just giving answers and education. And I think that's one of the best selling processes ever. Is the more the client can understand, the more likely they are to trust you as well. So those are kind of the initial factors that go into it. Once you have that first call in, there's a million other factors I could say that kind of go about it, but most of my guys in the trades, these are the huge pitfalls I kind of see happening. The other side of not really having a good CRM in place to follow through. Mm-hmm. That's kind of something else that I know is hugely impactful. And if you get a lot of leads, you need to have some process in place to make sure you're not dropping leads, through the holes if you're getting a lot of them.
Yeah, and being able to track the effectiveness of all the different campaigns you're running. But then you mentioned it very early on. Then it becomes the database of leads you get to mine year after year to keep pulling business out of it. And the people that pay $150 to generate a lead, call it 3 times and then throw it away. You just, with today's costs, you just can't do that anymore. Or at least they're leaving a lot of money on the table. That's for sure.
Yeah, not unless you want to keep working and never retire. Right. You can keep spending money that way.
If that's your goal, then you're well on your way.
Yes.
So, obviously your passion for the industry and just learning each of these steps along the way, the customer journey, well beyond marketing. And, but that appointment setting process, it's so critical. That phone call was $150, $200. And, even without, you can start changing those things today, right? And increase your set rate and immediately add to the bottom line of your business. But most people just aren't mindful of it whatsoever, unfortunately. So, well,
their loss.
Yeah, right. So leaves opportunity for the rest of us to hopefully step in and lead the way. But starting to get to the end of our conversation here, Brittany. You've provided just incredible amount of information. Thank you, and definitely positioned you and the rest of the team at One Thing Marketing as a great resource. One question we do like to ask most people that come on the show, and I think you'll give us some great answer here. Just again, your passion for the industry, the trades, and helping these companies across the country. We think a lot of our listeners are probably younger folks, just how podcasts tend to skew most of the time. So younger folks entering into construction, the trades, or adjacent industry like a digital marketing firm serving these type of companies. What would you tell that young person? What advice would you have for them entering into this business and in industry?
Well, I want to view it from the point that maybe someone new in the industry eventually wants to run their own company because they just kind of want to be that badass. They see that, hey, I could break into this. You can find the resources to make this happen. So I kind of thought about this question coming from that aspect with it. And so when I think of that, I'm thinking to set yourself up for success as much as possible because you're only selling yourself most of the time. So if you are in that trade and that's where kind of the path you think you might go on, I love telling everybody, like, take as many pictures and proof of what you've done as possible. I mean, and that's just a resume thing. Everywhere you've worked, what have you done? What did you accomplish? What did you bring to them? I mean, that's all the bullet points, you're basically your obituary, your resume, that's where you're putting all that stuff with it. But this could be something that's ongoing. So, making sure you're collecting videos, photos. I've seen a few guys who work for their companies, but have created their own social media accounts, just sharing what they do personally. And they've now started their own company because they already had a following and they already had clients who loved them, so it's really that's kind of why I like this aspect of it. I would love for everybody to eventually own their own business. I think it would be a very fun world if we can live in that, obviously not everybody, people got to work for the business owner sometime. But it's kind of going that aspect of it. So if you are going to go down that, what personal reviews could you get from any of the clients you've worked with? Maybe you were the lead designer and, you did work hand in hand with them a lot. You could maybe ask that client one-to-one, would you mind just kind of writing like a quick review of how I personally did for you? I'm just trying to learn, more about the industry and I'm making maybe 10 years down the road, break into my own. And I'm just trying to collect any information now that would help me grow as a leader. Oh my God, what homeowner would not eat that up and be like, oh my God, yes, like whatever for you, baby boy. Like I'll move
Yeah.
I'll move the world, because you have ambition and I want to help you. So the other aspect of that is, if you want to get the homeowner on your side to really showcase who you are, maybe find more options, because maybe you don't like where you're at, but you like the industry, is to really build a referral network for yourself. And so twofold. One, you're finding people in adjacent industries who you can network and who can help you pull resources to complete jobs. But secondly, the most valuable thing I think of is you are such a resource for the client if you are providing them the answer to their question. So let's just say you're in the remodeling the kitchen and the bath. I mean, these are huge projects, it's an amazing thing. And the homeowner asks, one of the people while they're in there, hey, so our AC is making weird noises. It's 98 outside and it's just making weird noise. Like, do you all do that in-house? No, so sorry, Mrs. Smith. We don't really work with the HVAC, but I do work with ABC HVAC and they're amazing guys. Would you like me to go ahead and give them a call and have them reach out to you on behalf? Oh my God, Jason, thank you so much. Like, how much you're warming this homeowner up, as much as possible. And that's kind of where you don't want to burn bridges. You don't want to, so if this is a homeowner that you think that, hey, like I'm trying to build my portfolio and they could be a helpful resource for you, then asking them just, you're asking them a favor, make sure you have available favors up for them if they should ask it. Because I think that's kind of the most common things in the trades is once one problem happens, they're usually asking for kind of more resources, or they just bought the house. They're going to be doing quite a few things to it. So you're building your book of business, but also if you actually do have a referral network, then now ABC HVAC knows that Jason always refers them. Well, wouldn't they give Jason more jobs because they want to create that symbiotic relationship? And maybe that's your goal is you are the sales with the construction company. So you do have to build those relationships. Therefore, those other companies, when they're in someone's home, that ABC HVAC is in their home. The lady's like, the AC in the kitchen's like the worst. Maybe we've had a vent in here. It'd be better. Do you all do vents? No, but we have a remodeling company that's more than happy to update your backsplash, which you also mentioned earlier you hated, and add a vent above you. And if you like to spruce anything up, they could actually come here and remodel the whole thing, actually. How old is this kitchen? Oh, it's 30 years old. Now that you mention it, I mean, like, this is just me talking and, potential aspects of what could happen. But that's ideally the goal is you're setting yourself up for success when that opportunity does arise. So what is that whole preparation meets opportunity? And that can equal success. So just making sure you're ready for that, I think would be kind of a good thing to do and learn as much as you can. And, if you are thinking of ever starting and separating out on your own, learn as much about the marketing your company's doing and what's working for them. I mean, if you're already going to be in that area, what's working and what's not working for them. You don't have to, again, recreate the wheel. You can kind of see what they're doing and take some of their best practices.
Yeah, the best practices are pretty proven at this point. So just learn them, and it's all about making the phone ring in the first place. It starts with that. So great stuff. Thank you, Brittany.
Absolutely.
Anything we haven't talked about that you would like to cover?
I think we have covered all of it. If there is anything that we didn't get to cover, I actually do have, it's a free ebook download. So if anyone wants to go to our website, onethingmarketing.net, on our homepage, there actually is an ebook. And Seth and Ethan, if you're okay with it, I'll send you the link afterwards. We can put it in the show notes.
Absolutely.
But it is a specified ebook for SEO best practices for home remodeling businesses. So anything I've talked about today, if it seemed over your head, there is actually a nice PDF with images to explain more in English what I said today here.
Perfect. Good stuff. And I'll definitely be checking out that resource too. So, well, before we close up and say goodbye, I do have to ask if you would like to participate in something we like to do here to help folks get to know you a little bit better, maybe outside the marketing realm, though. If you would participate in our rapid fire question round. So this is a little bit lighter than the topics we have been covering. 7 questions. Some may be serious, some more silly. Would you be up for the challenge?
I'm a little nervous, but I will accept the challenge.
Well,
I could talk about SEO for days, but myself, we'll see.
I get it. And Ethan wrote these questions, so he will be the one to blame.
I looked them up somewhere, but yeah, I'll take the blame.
I have to blame me if I don't like them.
So we'll alternate. Ethan, I'll let you go first.
Okay. Question 1. What's the weirdest thing you've eaten?
I would say my first trip to Paris, I actually had escargot, and I mean, I know snails aren't that weird, but snails are still weird.
They're still weird. Were you a fan or no?
I had 2 glasses of wine to go with it, which paired well. But had I just had water, I probably would have never had the first one go down.
Yeah, just just an excuse to keep having to drink the good wine, probably.
Exactly.
So, there you go. All right. Question number 2. What's your preferred seat on an airplane? First class may be the obvious choice, but I think the middle aisle, window.
For the few times I was lucky enough to be like the first A through 15 boarding group on Southwest, I would always pick the seat. It doesn't recline, unfortunately, but it is the one near the airplane window. Now I feel like I say this, everyone's going to go for it, but it's the one with the airplane window that has no seat in front of it, so you get to stretch your legs out for days.
Yeah.
And I'm almost 6 foot. My husband's 6'6", so unfortunately he gets that spot if I get in the A, so I sit in it so he can get it. But I scoot my legs to borrow that space as well because it's nice, and especially on a long flight, you want to feel like you're not squished into those little cubicles.
Goodness, yeah.
Static spaces for seats.
Yes. I was a little envious that I did not end up 6'3" like my dad, but when I started flying all the time for work, I was much more grateful because it gets cramped quick, that's for sure.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Alrighty, next question. How many alarms do you set in the morning, and how many times do you hit the snooze button?
Well, Brittany last year would probably hit it 5 times. I would set it earlier. Now I've set it at a reasonable time in which I know I will get up, and I've set it so therefore I can't press snooze. That was the cheat I learned. You have to take the snooze feature off. So if you press it, you're screwed. So you can't press it. You just have to get up.
That's it for me. I started pressing snooze when I was trying to get too ambitious on when I was waking up in the first place. So.
Yeah. Every time you I'm gonna get up an hour earlier, that's when you press the snooze feature.
Yeah, get up, read, work out, all that stuff. Then I press snooze. So,
Yep.
All right. Question number 4. What would you like to be remembered for?
I feel like I want something very inspirational. But really deep down inside, one thing I've always wanted to do is touch every country. That's good, I guess. There's some few right now I probably wouldn't go into, but maybe over the course of the next 50 years I live, I could step in all of them. But I would be loved to know as someone that just had a passion for life and went out there and pursued it as much as possible. And travel is the thing that really lights me up. So if I'm doing that and I'm seeing all the places of the world, I'd love to know that Brittany went after what she wanted. And that's a good aspect that I think not everybody gets to do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I know I heard some of your other answers and I was like, I feel like I'm not going to give a Mother Teresa answer that everybody else did. This is mine.
Good stuff.
Yeah. Alrighty, next one. What's something that amazes you?
To be honest, I'm still amazed that as big as airplanes are, they fly so easily. I for some reason, the older I get, even though I've traveled more, I'm getting more and more nervous about being on an airplane. I don't know if that's as you age, you're more worried about longevity and staying alive and like taking less risks. I have noticed that I always get just so freaked out by it, but I'm always amazed that me and 50 other people who are, over 100 pounds apiece are in the air, and we're flying as if we are walking on straight land, and it's steady, even keel. It's why I try to talk myself out of not being afraid when turbulence hits. It's just, some wind. I mean, it's all those kind of things that go with it. But I'm always amazed that once it can kind of calm down, like, how did we do this? Like, how did we create this? And then how are we going to go to the moon now? Like all that other stuff that goes with it. But yes, just the features that were created decades ago, I'm still amazed by. But let's not talk about UFOs. I could probably get on that for a bit. But I'm amazed by planes. And once I'll understand what those saucers do, I'll be even more amazed how they go up and down so quickly.
Yeah.
What quantum physics are you working with that we're not?
Some incredible stuff. Yeah, lots of Twitter chatter about UFOs these days. So we may learn more sooner than we'd like. But
yes. Yeah.
All right. Question number 6. Are you usually late, early, or on time? Oh, a snoozer and someone that shows up late.
Yeah. I mean, I did pop on only 2 minutes late. So I work very well under pressure, and I unfortunately I get wholeheartedly into things too much. And so like I had a strategy session right before this, and I was like, hey, I got a hard stop at this time. I need to get off, set it early. And about, right at that time, he was like, oh yeah, didn't you need to get off? I'm like, well, let me answer this question for you really quick. So yes, I'm unfortunately a late person. If you asked my husband that question, he would have said in like 0.2 seconds that she's late. But I'm a woman, so I get the excuse. Okay, y'all don't have to make your hair pretty, do anything else we got to do.
That was
I had to sit down when I teed, just all the things of womanhood we had to deal with. Okay, effort. Now you're trying to take it away.
That may have been the biggest challenge after getting married, was that the negotiation of getting out the door to make it to church or somewhere else on time. So in our house, we took very different perspectives on what that time needed to be, but we're still married, so barely. All right, Ethan, last one.
What do you think would be a good replacement for TV commercials?
Well, this would probably help me, but I think instead of TV commercials, if it was actually, what's the P90X guy's name?
Tony Horton? I don't know why I know that, but
okay. If Tony or someone else could get on there and be like, all right, people, let's do stretches, or let's do some push-ups. I mean, I need someone every 5 minutes to try to encourage me to get up and stand, because, you're in offices as well. We sit down a lot. Unfortunately, I work with the trades, and I'm actually very jealous of how physical their work is. Mm-hmm. And they're like, I'd rather be sitting in an office with air conditioning. I'm like, it's so boring in here. I was like, my body's deteriorating. I have a standing desk. Like, that's the most excitement I get. My job is a standing desk. So I think if we could have little infomercials of workouts, like even if they could do a whole routine. I mean, in a 60-minute segment, we could do the whole, like the warm-up phase, the actual workout and the cool down. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
That's my vote.
There you go. 2 birds and maximizing time. So awesome.
Exactly.
Well,
hey, it follows in with my diet and exercise analogy for your marketing. So you got to keep your body in shape as much as you keep your marketing in shape. There
we go. The thread all the way through the episode brought us through to the end. So good stuff. And thank you, Brittany. This has been a real pleasure. Learned a lot. If someone would like to contact you after listening to the episode and follow up, what's the best way for them to do that?
Best way would be to actually go to our website again. So onethingmarketing.net, and at the top right corner, there's a button that says strategy session. And so if anything resonated with you today and you just want that second opinion, it is no obligation. I will be there, go through the process. You'll be booking with my calendar directly, and I'll help you figure out how to get from point A to point B. And if you don't want to talk to me again, go to the show notes and download that ebook and figure out how to do it yourself, or yell at your marketing agency to start doing these things for you immediately.
Awesome. Good stuff. No doubt. You can provide a lot of value and help to a lot of folks. So, and thanks for doing that today.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And thank you for tuning in, our listeners, to this episode of Construction Disruption with Brittany Murphy of One Thing Marketing, onethingmarketing.net. Please watch for future episodes of our podcast. We are always blessed with great guests. If you would, don't forget to leave a review. We know how important those are on Apple Podcasts or YouTube. Until the next time we're together, keep on disrupting, challenging, and finding better ways to do things. So thank you again. God bless. Take care. This is Isaiah Industries signing off until the next episode of Construction Disruption.
This podcast is produced by Isaiah Industries manufacturer of specialty metal roofing and other building products.